This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How we doing today? On this Monday, August 5th, it's the first Monday of the month, right here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You're watching us on the BamaCentral YouTube channel or on the Joe Gaither Show on Joe Gaither 6 on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Or you're also listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Amazon. We appreciate everybody for joining us on their favorite platform, subscribing to their favorite platform, rating, reviewing, leaving a comment on their favorite platform, wherever you subscribe, listen, or watch the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. What are we going to do today on Monday? It's an off day for Alabama football as far as fall camp goes. Well, as far as practice goes, the guys were still in the facility having a meeting. They had a special guest speaker today and, taking care of their bodies and doing more film work as they continue to install the Alabama offense and the defense. But it was an off day as far as practice is concerned. So what we will do today is we're going to present our last two interviews that we did in Dallas at SEC Media Days. We talked to Nick Kelly from AL.com and Peter Radicus from AL.com. We talked to Nick Kelly, obviously, about Alabama, and Peter Radicus about the Auburn Tigers. So we will present our last two interviews from SEC Media Days with Nick Kelly at the start about the Alabama Crimson Tide and Peter Radicus about the Auburn Tigers. That will finish up our SEC Media Day series. In between, we are going to talk about what we have noticed from the first 4 days of Alabama football practice. I've got a little list of notes and a little list of talking points that I want to go over. You can always drop in your comments or your observations at Joe Gaither 6 on your favorite platform, on Spotify, on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, right there for your comments. And then we want to talk about the college football coaches poll. The USA Today coaches poll was released earlier in the afternoon, earlier in the day. Alabama coming in fifth, so we'll talk about who was seeded where. But really, we're going to talk about what it means, what it actually means for real football or for real ramifications. Obviously, on Monday, August 5th, it doesn't mean much, but we will talk about what it actually means and what it can mean for real football down the line. So that's what the plan will be today. We're going to start with our interview with Nick Kelly from AL.com. We'll come back. We'll talk about Alabama football practice as well as the College Football USA Today coaches poll and how it fits into the college football playoff poll, because that's how it will really affect the season. Obviously, the coaches aren't selecting the teams, but we're going to use what they selected today and kind of fit it into the college football playoff puzzle and see how it will work later on in the year in November when we get there. And then we'll finish up with our conversation with Nick Radicus from AL.com. Before we get into that, though, we want to tell you about our friend Derek Daniel from State Farm Insurance. Derek Daniel, right up here in Northport, Alabama. You can find him at 4604 Highway 69 North in Northport, Alabama, 35473. Derek Daniel will get you taken care of with all of your home, life, and auto insurance needs. You know you need home insurance, especially with the storms that we had over the weekend right here in Alabama. So you want to make sure that your home is properly covered with the proper insurance. Derek Daniel and his team at State Farm can take care of you. Give him a call at 205-758-3391. They can go over all the information for your home, for your auto insurance, or for your family to make sure that you're properly insured with your right life insurance as well. Make sure you call them at 205-758-3391, or you can visit him online at agentderekdaniel.com. That's Derek, D-E-R-E-K, Daniel.com. So we appreciate Derek Daniel joining us and sponsoring the program today. Without further ado, here is our discussion with Nick Kelly from AL.com out there in Dallas. Back into the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com. We're here still at Dallas SEC Media Days 2024, and I'm here with AL.com's newest superstar, Nick Kelly. You follow him on the Twitter machine at _Nick Kelly. You've been reading all his great work for many years covering the Alabama beat. Nick, how's SEC Media Days treating you in Dallas?
Well, after that introduction, I can't complain. I mean, that was awfully kind. So, no, it's going well. How about you?
Oh, really exciting. I mean, today a little bit stressful. It's Alabama and Texas Day, but overall exciting. We heard from Coach Kalen DeBoer, and oftentimes, I mean, we've heard from him for 7 months now. Different podcasts, different interviews, whole lot of talking, maybe not a whole lot of content. So I'm asking you, what was the biggest draw or takeaway that you got from Coach Kalen DeBoer today?
Yeah, one interesting point was he talked about Jalen Milroe's development. It's kind of what he's worked on. Pointed out, obviously, the deep ball's been there. He can make throws down the field, but he's been working on some of the just kind of short throws, some of the just essentially the you might call the point guard element of being a quarterback. And so I think that makes sense just because Jalen, yes, he has the strength. He can make just about any throw. It's just a matter of making the smaller plays to complete his game. And Kalen brought that up as a point of growth and something that he's been working on getting better at. So that was an interesting takeaway to me.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that we talked about today with the players, and particularly Malachi Moore, was Nick Saban's comments on Monday. I'm picking Texas and Georgia in the SEC championship, and I'm concerned about the Alabama secondary. Malachi Moore brushed it off. Tyler Booker kind of gave the comments of, we don't care about people talking in their basement, kind of poking at Coach Saban. But why do you think Coach Saban made those comments? Was it, I'm giving flowers to my former assistant coaches, Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian? Was it a little rat poison for the Alabama Crimson Tide, or something else?
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with Nick Saban as part of a small group of reporters this morning, and he mentioned that he wants to be objective. He's not trying to be critical. He's just trying to be objective. And he's not trying to essentially create controversy. He's just trying to be objective. So I think that's where some of that comes from. But also at the same time, I mean, listen to what he's told them. Like, it's not necessarily you don't want to be picked to win the whole thing. I mean, that's not necessarily what you want to hear, because then you can get a little too complacent, a little too comfortable, so he's maybe helping him out a little bit that way too. But I think he's just trying to be objective. He's trying to say what he sees and go about it that way.
Well, Alabama has a lot of big road games this year. I'm looking forward to getting up to Wisconsin, going over to Oklahoma. What do you think is the biggest road game this year for Alabama? At Tennessee, at LSU as well? Maybe you're going to pick the Vanderbilt game? What's the biggest road game for Alabama this season?
Well, unfortunately, Vanderbilt, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pick that game as the toughest this season. I'm going to go Oklahoma. To me, that challenge, Oklahoma could be really good. So there's just looking at the team. There's also the element of they get the Iron Bowl the next week.
Yeah.
So they have to really make sure they focus not to look ahead. Now, granted, it's not a cupcake game that you can easily look past, but if they don't focus properly on that Oklahoma game, they look ahead to the Auburn game, that could be easily a loss on the road. So I think that's a really tricky game, just circumstantially, for Alabama to face late in the season.
Absolutely. We're talking to Nick Kelly, newest reporter for AL.com, covering the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you follow him at _Nick Kelly on the Twitter machine. We're here in Dallas, Nick, because of Texas and Oklahoma joining the conference. Texas is about to be on the podium right behind us. What's been your impressions of the week and really the reception of two of college football's biggest brands into the SEC?
Yeah, I think it's been kind of predictable in the sense of, hey, welcome makes a conference that was strong even stronger. At the same time, makes it awfully tough. I mean, these are two good programs and good football teams, too. I mean, a lot of the focus has been on Texas, and rightfully so, because they're in a really good spot with Steve Sarkisian right now. Oklahoma has more recently been successful. I mean, like, if you group together body of work over the last 10 years, Oklahoma's a tough team too. So I think that you're adding really two quality teams. You've seen the media excitement for those two teams here in Dallas. It's a lot of fun. I think if you're a fan of the game, it's really great and healthy for the game. Now, if you want your team to win every single game, it might not be the best thing, because it's going to be tough to beat those two teams.
It's going to be tough to beat those two teams, and I've been saying that no one's going to go undefeated in the SEC this season. We heard from the new director of the college football playoff this morning. He's all excited about 12 teams this. How many teams can the SEC realistically expect to represent the SEC in that first edition of the 12-team playoff?
Yeah, I've been asked this several times this week, and I'm going to stick with what I've been saying. I'm going to predict 3 teams. They could get 4. I'm just going to I'm going to maybe be a little careful with my prediction, say 3. So whether that's, if I had to guess, I'm going to say Georgia, Texas, Alabama. but it could be an Ole Miss, it could be a Missouri. Even, I mean, you could look at an LSU, you could look at Tennessee. So there's a lot of Oklahoma, maybe. I mean, there are a lot of teams that could legitimately be in that mix. But I think 4 is maybe the max I would foresee, but 3 is probably that safe bet. They'll get at least 3 in.
Let's talk about that homecoming matchup, the Alabama Crimson Tide, end of October. Alabama's hosting the Missouri Tigers, and they've been an interesting subject this offseason. Many people saying, oh, Eli Drinkwitz is going to keep it going, and many people, oh, they're frauds, and they're going to take a step back. That comes in a very interesting spot on the schedule for the Crimson Tide. It's just after the trip to Knoxville. It's before the trip to Oklahoma and then the Iron Bowl against Auburn. Any chance Alabama could be on upset alert against the Missouri Tigers?
It's possible, and of course I know you're asking that because you know I'm a Mizzou alum, but no, I think Mizzou has a legit chance to be undefeated heading into that game. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily because they're going to be just dominant this season, but more so their schedule is not that tough beforehand. I mean, they have a road matchup against Texas A&M, but no, it's possible it could be a 2 top 10 team matchup, which would be really fun. And they've got a good offense, Brady Cook. I mean, they lost the running back, Cody Schrader, but they got Brady Cook back. They got Luther Burden back, one of the best receivers in college football. So they got some really good pieces. Whether that translates to wins and a lot of wins, we'll see. But I think it's a compelling matchup, but it's not what it would have been facing Missouri a few years ago.
So Nick Saban on Monday said, my biggest concern for Alabama is the secondary. I think it's rightfully so. It's a nice concern. But can I talk you into being more concerned on the Alabama defense about the depth at linebacker? Deontay Lawson, Jihad Campbell look like some headhunters. They're going to be good linebackers. But what happens if one of those players goes down in the middle of the Alabama defense? Any concern about depth in the inside of the Alabama's linebacker group?
It's a fair question. I mean, you're always worried about depth. I mean, just because, especially if you don't have a ton of experience there, what is that going to look like if you lose your top players? But in some ways, if you lose your best players, you're in trouble anyway. But it depends if guys can step up or not. So, yeah, I mean, if they lose Deontay Lawson or Jihad Campbell, heaven forbid, for an injury, I mean, that's a tough spot to be in. You can't expect them to have another one like that ready to go. But we'll see. I think it's a wait-and-see kind of mode to see what they have at inside linebacker.
All right, 2 more for Nick Kelly, the newest reporter for Alabama, AL.com right here, Alabama Crimson Tide. You follow him at _Nick Kelly on the Twitter machine. Offensive side of the ball, I'm really excited about Jeremy Menard. I think he's going to be a wide receiver that Alabama really hasn't had for 2 years, really. No disrespect to what they have had. I just think that he brings a different element. Am I wrong? What do we think we're seeing in the Washington transfer?
Yeah, I mean, he knows the system, so that's big to start. But we saw in the 8-day game, I mean, he's got some juice. He's got some athleticism, some speed, some good hands. I think a piece that Joe Milroe already looked like he's enjoying, and he's probably going to continue to enjoy having with him. But, I mean, that receiver spot, there's not – I mean, no, you don't have, like, a ton of guys who are, 1,000-yard receivers who are coming back. But there's a lot of intrigue. Kendrick Law, I mean, Kalen DeBoer, I think, was talking today about just the crazy speed he has. He was benching, like, 450 pounds at the same time.
What's your bench, Nick?
Not 450.
Me either.
Just basically about 300, somewhere around there.
You still got me, though.
No, I'm just kidding. No. But anyway,
Kendrick
Law, I think he's got a lot of tools they like, a lot of things you can use. I mean, you got Kobe Prentice. He's a guy they can use. I mean, they've got some dudes that can do some things. And I think if anyone can find out how to use them, it's Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan. And Jamarcus Shepard, I mean, one of the best receiver coaches in the country. So I think you're going to see some development. And then, of course, we haven't even mentioned Ryan Williams, who people have been excited about, have mentioned, have been hyping up. So that's a position group I'm watching very closely.
All right, last one with Nick Kelly. The biggest change for Alabama this season that affects you and I is morning practice. We're going to morning practice in Tuscaloosa, and the guys mentioned it a handful of different times today. Are you a believer in morning practice? What's your thoughts on switching from the middle of the afternoon, the Tuscaloosa heat, oh my gosh, 105 degrees, to now we're going to be seeing practice at 9 a.m., and you and I might be clocking out at a decent time.
What a world. No, it's so different. I mean, it's one of the more tangible differences under Kalen DeBoer from Nick Saban. But, I think it's just a personal preference thing and what each coach wants to do. And is it drastic? Probably not. But it's interesting, and we'll see if that has any effect. And I'll be curious to see what the players say about it. So.
This is Nick Kelly, and you're reading him now at AL.com. Make sure you check out all his great work with the team at AL.com, and make sure you check him out on the Twitter machine at _Nick Kelly. Nick, thanks for your time, and enjoy the rest of the week in Dallas.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
That was our time with Nick Kelly out in Dallas at SEC Media Days, and I really, really appreciate him joining us out there. I had a lot of fun meeting and greeting the who's who of media out there in Dallas talking about SEC football. Before we talk about fall camp, Alabama fall camp, and the coaches poll, I want to tell you about my friends at Purple Turtle Roofing. They're the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and in Mississippi. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all of your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for a free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free and make sure that you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. We had a lot of storms over the weekend. You want to make sure that your roof is prepared for the next one. Check them out online at roofturtle.com or call them today. They'll come out and give you a free roof inspection at 877-787-6635. Purple Turtle Roofing. All right, so let's get into practice just a little bit. We were very fortunate. We have been very fortunate to be at practice on, Wednesday, Thursday, on Saturday, and Sunday. Alabama did not practice today, and the guys will be back in action tomorrow. We will be back at practice on tomorrow is Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're off on Thursday, Friday, and then we're back in action for Saturday, Sunday. So, guys are off today. Got to spend some time in the facility the last couple of days. What have we seen? We got a lot of people. Hey, Joe, how's it been? Hey, Joe, what have you seen? Hey, Joe, what have you learned? What do they look good? How do they look? And I'm just going to take the mask off just a little bit and be right here with you. And if you guys want to agree or disagree, feel free to jump in and disagree on my social medias at Joe Gaither 6 on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. But the first thing that I wrote down is not much. Not much. You're not seeing much of anything. Now, this spawned several different thoughts. My first thought is, you're not seeing a whole lot. It's not really worth it to be out there for the amount of time and when we are out there. We'll start right there. But does that mean that I don't want to be there? No, I absolutely want to be there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Coach DeBoer, for letting us be out there. And thank you to the Alabama communication staff, Alex Thompson, Aaron Jordan, Steven Gonzalez, everybody that works on the communication side for letting us be out there. Yes, thank you. But just because it feels a little bit, these 20 minutes or so, we get about 12 to 20 minutes or so of these 4 days, of these 4 practices, 12 to 20 minutes each. Just because we are out there for such a short time and seeing such a specific portion of the practice, it makes me laugh at the old coach, Nick Saban. It makes me laugh at Nick Saban because Nick Saban would always joke at the media, you guys don't know what you're watching. For one, that would be one of his main lines. Y'all don't know what you're watching anyways. The other, you're just out there to take roll. He would always throw that at us. Oh, if you guys just wouldn't take roll, then we'd let you come out there. But Coach used to always, we don't want to let you into practice because, you'll make things up and, you'll blow things out of proportion. And, it's, but we always laugh because, Coach, the portion that you are letting us come to is basically just individual drills, basically just the first, you get period 2 to period 4, period 2 to period 8. Sometimes you get further up in there, but usually it is the individual period where the guys are just doing drills specific to their position group. And so are we really seeing that high level of football? And so it made me laugh when Coach Saban was would basically restrict the practice access after COVID-19 hit, basically kept the media out of practice since COVID-19 on. But Coach DeBoer has let us come back into practice, and for that I am very, very, very thankful because you'd much rather get the 20 minutes or so of individual work and individual drills than not. It was so difficult to go through fall camp and go through spring practice over the last couple of years with Coach Saban when you weren't allowed to be out there because you just walked into the meeting room and it was basically telling me about position group A, B, C, and D because you haven't seen anything. You don't know what to ask about anybody because you never saw anything with your own two eyes. And so it's really just coach, spit your propaganda about player group A, B, C, D, and that's still going on. It's still going on to a degree, but the media sessions after practice have been more valuable because of the time that we've been able to spend at practice. We'll just point blank period. We were able to ask about LT Overton on Friday's session or Saturday's session that was Thursday's session because he wasn't out there Wednesday or Thursday. Thursday was a defensive day. You got to ask Kane Womack kind of his status. You found out, he's not feeling too well. We should see him back. By the time we were in the facility on Saturday, LT Overton was back out there during the media viewing session. But take that story, take that one angle, just as an example, LT Overton. Coach Saban didn't let us at practice because, you'd have so many LT Overton stories. You saw them Wednesday afternoon, Thursday day. Coach Saban, Coach Womack expects LT Overton to return in a couple of days. We wrote our own at BamaCentral.com. We encourage you to go check out all of the camp coverage at Alabama Crimson Tide on SI, powered by BamaCentral. The official name right there. You got to get the official name in there. But we wrote our own about LT Overton. He's missing from practice. On Thursday, expected back soon. Short illness, short absence, expected back soon. That would have been a story that you would not have seen under the Coach Saban regime that you now see in the Coach Womack regime because of the practice access. And I, for one, am thankful for it. But on the flip side, you've got stories that we're hitting on Sunday about Caden Proctor has retaken number one snaps at left tackle. And you think back to, you piece it together with what we heard from Nick Sheridan, offensive coordinator, and from Kalen DeBoer, head coach, and you can look at both of those interviews on Bama Central's YouTube channel right now. But they talked about the tackle position over the week, and it basically made it very clear to me, at least, that you're having ongoing competition at left and right tackle. And look, between you and I, just you and I talking and chatting right here, Caden Proctor is going to win that left tackle job. He's going to win it. He will. But to see him early in camp, the first couple of days in camp, not be the first left tackle through the line, to see it be Elijah Pritchett and sometimes see Wilkin Thornby, you thought, no big deal. That didn't send off any red flags in my brain. But Sunday, we're out there. You see Caden Proctor, the first left tackle through the line. And you've got people going to their phones. Caden Proctor taking starting reps today. It just makes me roll my eyes because you go into the media availability right after and Kalen DeBoer says, competition ongoing. That's just the portion of practice that you saw. And that's something that we should all take in mind and keep at the very forefront of our minds. I feel like people have asked me over the last 4 days, Joe, what have you seen? What have you gotten from practice? What are your takeaways? But what we have to remember is we are getting a small piece of this puzzle. We're getting 15 to 20 minutes of these first, they've been out there 4 days. They're practicing, 2 hours a day, roughly. 2, 4, 6, 8 hours, and we have seen 20, 40, 60. We've seen an hour and 20 minutes tops of the 8 hours. We're not seeing the full picture. We're not seeing everything. So think back to LT Overton. Yeah, he wasn't out there while we were out there on Wednesday or Thursday. Now, he was on Saturday, but what's to say we walked out of practice at whatever time it was, 9:45-ish or so, 9:50. And what's to say LT Overton doesn't come out on Wednesday and on Thursday? We don't know that. Same thing. You talk about the tackle position. Caden Proctor, he's taking tackle reps. Who's to say that through Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday's practice, Caden Proctor didn't take snaps with the ones? We can't say that. That'd be inaccurate to me. It wouldn't be right. It's not the full picture. Now, it's what we saw during the time that we were out there. And again, want to preface it by saying I'm very thankful to be out there. Absolutely love getting up in the morning and going to practice. There's about 1.5 billion other things that I could be doing that would make me hate my life. But I love getting up, going to practice. Absolutely love it. It's a blast. Now, do I wish that I could stand there for the whole 3 hours and really take it in? Yes. Do I understand why that's not really going to be an option? Yes, I understand that. But because of the limitation and because of the portions of practice that we are seeing, I myself am very hesitant to say, oh, well, I'm seeing a national championship winning roster. I'm seeing this team's going to take it all the way. This team's going to be just unstoppable on offense. Oh, my gosh. And they're not going to be able – nobody's going to be able to throw on this team. The passing defense is going to be so good. Oh, man, they're just going to be headhunters. They're going to be hitting everybody, everything that moves. Such an aggressive defense. No, we can't say any of these things based on what we have seen. What have we seen so far? We've seen individual drill work. We've seen, a little bit of conceptual action, interactions between the quarterback and running back, quarterback and receiver, offensive line and quarterback. You see a little bit of that, but not really any team stuff, right? Not really any of that. And so I've been equating it in my brain, and to people who have asked, it's like watching layup lines. Think about it. You get to a basketball game early. We're all excited about getting into Coleman Coliseum this year. But you put the Alabama players through a layup line, and right now, without seeing a single game, and obviously we are all excited about basketball season, but without seeing a single game, let's imagine that we didn't know who was on the team. We do know, and we're excited about them. But let's imagine we didn't know Mark Sears or anybody who's going to be on the team. Cliff Amore, doesn't matter. Let's say they're 13 strangers, right? 13 strangers who are average college basketball players. Let's just make them all average, right? Let's just say they're all freshmen. They're going to make a layup line look good, look adequate. They're going to go through the drills and make it look just fine. You're going to get the passing drills. You're going to get the, pass the ball around the key at the top of the key before the game starts. You're going to get all that stuff. Does that mean one team's better than the other? One team's got this dangerous three-point shooter. You're not seeing any of that stuff. And so, for football, for taking a circle, making it all one big circle, or bringing it back to Alabama football, what we're seeing is, those defensive backs, they sure are backpedaling nicely. Great. Okay, the wide receivers, they're running their 9 route, their fly route nicely. Okay, they're running their 10-yard out route nicely. Okay, they're making their catches against air nicely. All right. And, of course, you can tell if a quarterback is being accurate or not. Obviously, you can tell if a pass is on time or not. So, yes, there are certain things that you can take away during these periods. But can I see how physical an offensive line is? No. They're literally just walking through their steps and blocking dummies, not anybody with any resistance, blocking guys who are holding pads up, who are basically saying, here's your target to hit. And obviously, it's nice to see them walking in lockstep. It's nice to see them walking in tandem, but they're not doing anything deeper than any high-level high school player could do. They're not doing anything any deeper than any high-level player at Georgia, at Tennessee, at Clemson, at Texas, at Ohio State. Just name your place that plays good football, right? Doesn't matter. Pick your favorites that are not named Alabama. And the guys look like good football players. They look like they're getting into a proper stance. They look like they're getting off the ball when the coach is moving the football, right, on the defensive line drills. They look like the offensive line is hitting the blocking sled. Yes, great. It's hitting the blocking sled. The blocking sled's moving back by 2 to 3 yards. Great. That's what it's supposed to look like. This is just fundamental work. Well, it's just fundamental work. And that's what we're seeing right now. And look, again, We're very thankful. I am very thankful to be out there. But I don't want to sit here and tell you that, oh, man, Jalen Miller, he's going to win a Heisman Trophy. Oh, man, Justice Haynes, Jam Miller, nobody's tackling them. Look, could we write that? Yeah, Justice Haynes, Jam Miller, nobody's tackling them. Because I didn't see those guys on the ground. I didn't see those fellas falling during the time at practice that we were at. Oh, so yeah, nobody. They're untackleable. Alabama's defense having a hard time getting Jam Miller to the ground. Like, what are we doing? And you don't want that from me. You don't want that from the media. I know that you've seen some hype over the weekend that, Ryan Williams really coming along nicely. Ryan Williams coming along great. And I do think that Ryan Williams is going to make some plays this year, but will he be a superstar? No. I don't think that's remotely fair to expect. Now, would it be more fair to write about Jeremy Bernard? I think so. Are we doing that? No, because that's not near as fun. That's not near as exciting to the Alabama fan base. The Alabama fan base is excited about this 17-year-old two-time state of Alabama, Mr. Football, right? And, dude, I'm excited about Ryan Williams as well. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that player X or Y or Z is really popping at practice, or player A or B or C is really struggling at practice. We got one of our clips up on BamaCentral.com that features Kane Womack. He's really ripping into a player. And I think, obviously, it's secondary player, but I think it's Bray Hubbard. But just because Bray Hubbard messed up on a play and got himself chewed out, does that mean, he's having a terrible camp? Awful camp? Really? You're just not getting it, just not struggling to get the defense. No, we were out there for, again, 15 to 20 minutes. What happens in those 15 to 20 minutes certainly matters, but is it be-all, end-all? No, it's not at all. And so I caution you, anybody that you're reading right now that's saying player X really having a great camp, player Y really having a great camp, player B is securing a starting role. Like, they're lying. They're straight up lying to you, because all we're seeing is 15 to 20 minutes. And in those 15 to 20 minutes, they look like a football team that's played football before. They look like a bunch of athletes. They look like a bunch of 4- and 5-star athletes that Alabama has been recruiting for the last 17 years, running through it and doing football fundamentals. Great. They look ready for that. Now, again, I'm also a little hesitant because of where we are in camp. We've completed 4 days of practice. 4 days of practice, folks, right? With a brand new coaching staff. Obviously, the coaching staff had a chance to work with the players during spring practice, and that's great. Really, that's great. Everybody that got a chance to see the defense, see the initial install, the initial install of the offense, really, really great. But you're 4 days in with a brand new regime. So you're still sitting here with how many days till the 31st? You're 25, 26 days away until the 31st, until you're kicking it off against Western Kentucky. So yeah, you better be close to being ready, but you're still maximizing every single day at this point. You're still squeezing a lot into these days, which means I think you're still a couple of weeks away, about 2 weeks away from making definitive statements about who's playing for this team. Now, obviously, some of the decisions, like, yes, Jalen Milroe is your starting quarterback. Tyler Booker is your starting left guard. Like, some of the decisions have already been made for you. But I think you're about 2 weeks away from having any of these decisions really matter. So who's playing left tackle right now? Who's playing right tackle right now? Sure, it's something to write in your notebook. And I do think that it will end up being Caden Proctor and Wilkin Formby, but it doesn't really matter quite yet. This Saturday will be your first scrimmage. You're going to have a scrimmage over in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And I think once you hit that scrimmage mark, you will have had, 4, 5, 6. That'll be your 7th practice, I believe. That'll be your 7th practice, and you'll have that scrimmage under your belt. I think from there, things will start to take a real shift towards the upcoming season for the Western Kentucky game. My man Jerry Zimmerman chiming in, bro. God bless and go Tigers. GAUX. There you go. Go Tigers. We hope to see you guys down in Death Valley this year. All right, so there's just some practice thoughts. Has it been a lot of fun to be out there? Absolutely. Will we be back out there tomorrow? Yes, we will. You can find all the coverage at BamaCentral on BamaCentral's YouTube channel of all of what we see during practice. I mean, watch it for yourself, and you let me know. Can you really make really hard and fast, definitive decisions and rulings and takes about this team based on what you see on the BamaCentral YouTube channel? Because that's what we're seeing. All right, before we move to our final interview of SEC Media Days with Peter Ratterkiss from AL.com, let's look real quickly at the coaches poll. USA Today coaches poll put out their first edition, the preseason edition today. And just real quickly, 1 through 10, Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4, Alabama 5, Ole Miss 6, Notre Dame 7, Michigan 8, Penn State 9, and Florida State 10. All right, and you can find this on the BamaCentral YouTube, on the BamaCentral homepage right there on the left hand or on the right hand side if you want to read about the entire coaches poll. But what I wanted to do is take the coaches poll. Look, first off, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for anything. It's probably it's the most. Out of the major polls, the coaches poll, the AP poll, and the college football playoff poll, your three major polls, it's the least important and really the AP poll doesn't matter anyways either. But the coaches poll doesn't matter for anything because I promise you, Kalen DeBoer did not fill out his card. Probably Alex Thompson filled it out, or somebody in the Alabama communications department filled it out. Alabama did not come away with a single first-place vote. All the first-place votes went to Georgia and Ohio State. I believe Michigan got one first-place vote as well. But, all right, so Alabama at 5. And really, again, this does not matter at all because the coaches aren't really voting on this poll. And the ones that are probably are the losing coaches because the coaches, if you're coaching high-level college football, you don't have enough time to be voting on the other 130 some odd programs. Like, obviously, everybody knows Georgia, Ohio State, probably one of the better two teams in the country. You slot them up there. But from after that, if you're a college football coach, if you're a high-level college football coach, you're focused on your own program. Alabama, you got Western Kentucky in the next couple of weeks. That's what you're focused on. You ain't focused on who the 8th best team in the country is, who the 15th best team in the country is. No, you're focused on your own team, especially if you're in Kalen DeBoer's shoes as you are implementing offense and trying to get a new team to play under your leadership. So the coaches poll is completely worthless, in my opinion. Always has been, always will be. But the interesting thing that I want to do with it is take it into the college football playoff poll. And let's just apply it like it is the final poll. What will that be? Late November, early December for that final poll for the 12-team playoff poll. But if it finished as it did today, the preseason coaches poll or the postseason final poll, how would you like this as a bracket? Georgia, first round bye, number 1 seed. Ohio State, number 2 seed, first round bye. And here we get interesting. Florida State, number 3 seed, first round bye, comes in at number 10 on your poll. Oof. Utah, number 4 seed, first round bye, comes in at number 13 in your college football expanded playoff poll. Number 13 in your coaches poll. Excuse me. And so you look at Florida State and Utah, two teams outside of the top 10 and over, outside of the top 9, right, are getting top 4 seeds and first round byes because of automatic qualifications. Obviously, Florida State winning the ACC in this projection and Utah winning the Big 12 in this projection. You keep going. Your number 5 seed is Oregon. Oh my gosh, Oregon finished what, number 3 overall? Yeah, number 3 in this preseason poll is getting a number 5 seed. They're hosting a first round game. Number 6 seed Texas, number 7 seed Alabama, 8 seed Ole Miss, 9 seed Notre Dame, 10 seed Michigan, 11 seed Penn State, and 12 seed Memphis. Whew. So you get 4 SEC teams, 4 Big Ten teams, and the other 4 teams come from the other guys. Florida State, ACC, Utah, Big 12, Memphis is what? The American, right? Conference USA. And Notre Dame as an independent. But you look at this, Alabama, how happy would you be, Alabama fans? You finished the season ranked fifth. You finished the season ranked fifth, third in the SEC, and you got a number 7 overall seed in the college football playoff poll. You're hosting the Michigan Wolverines in round number 1 in Tuscaloosa. Now, from a experience standpoint, how great would that be? Hosting Michigan right here in Tuscaloosa for the first round. A replay of last year's Rose Bowl game, oh my gosh, would be absolutely, just from an experience standpoint, off the charts. Send me to heaven. You'd be there. It would be an amazing experience. Tuscaloosa would be on fire for the entire week, and really that whole day would be a day where you couldn't move, and you have to take your Uber over to the stadium pretty daggum early, and the electricity in Bryant-Denny Stadium would be off the charts. It'd be a great day. But you just look at this, and you think ahead, and I think that these automatic qualifiers are going to present you a problem. Sure, Florida State and Utah would have deserved to be in probably in the 12-team poll. You know, Florida State finished 10, Utah finished 13, finished right there at 13, but was the 4th highest rated conference champion. It's going to be really interesting because you're going to slide in teams like Oregon has gone from top 3 to boom. Now you're 5. Oregon, Texas, and Alabama all go from the top 3 to bumped out, the top 4, to bumped out of the top 4 in favor of Utah and Florida State. I think that this is going to create some butthurt feelings at the end of the year. Now, I'm excited about the 12-team playoff. I don't give a darn about the preseason USA Today preseason coaches poll. I won't give a darn about the coaches poll the entire year. If Alabama moves up to all the way to number 1 or drops out of the coaches poll, good or bad on the year, it doesn't matter. Does not matter. The poll is a bunch of hooey because, 1, the coaches are not actually voting on it, and 2, if they are, they're voting with extreme bias. And that's okay. Well, I would be too. If I were coaching one team, let's just say I were coaching Alabama, or just put me any team in the SEC. If I'm coaching at Vanderbilt, I'm going to vote us higher than we should be, and I'm going to be voting my SEC brethren higher than they should be as well, just because of the bias, the recency bias, and the proximity bias. So the coaches poll, always a load of hooey, but Alabama coming in at number 5 today in the initial college football USA Today coaches poll. Let's finish this program up by talking and finishing our time at SEC Media Days. We talked to Peter Raderkis covering the Auburn Tigers for AL.com. So we talked to Peter for 4 or 5 minutes, and we'll round this bad boy up with our conversation with Peter Raderkis of AL.com.
To the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. We're continuing our coverage of SEC Media Days here in Dallas with the Auburn Tigers. And I'm very, very blessed to be joined by Peter Raderkis, the newest employee beat writer for AL.com. He's going to be covering the Auburn Tigers, and we want you guys to follow him at Peter_Raderkis. Peter, huge day for the Auburn Tigers. Hugh Freeze going into year number 2. Just overall expectations for Hugh Freeze. Obviously, a little bit disappointing year number 1. What do we expect out of Hugh and the Auburn Tigers in his second year?
Yeah, first of all, thanks so much for having me on. I think this year it's one of those where it's year 2, it's a building year. I think you look at the change, new coordinators on both sides of the ball. You've got a lot of new players coming in, a lot of roster turnover, and a system where, it's still in rebuild mode. You're still kind of building up the roster. So I think, this season, the biggest focus is on improvement, just getting that improvement and alignment that we saw at times last year, but it never really fully clicked last season. I think we're looking to see that really click this upcoming season.
One of the themes this week at SEC Media Days has been quarterbacks. We heard from Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe. We heard from basically every quarterback, and we will hear from Peyton Thorne today. And Peyton Thorne's one of those names where you throw him out there into different circles, and he's going to have a better second season, or that guy can't play quarterback at all. But the wide receivers were really not there last year. Well, we got a lot of talent in the Auburn wide receiver room. Will we see a big step forward in Peyton Thorne? And really, are you excited about hearing from him today?
Yeah, I mean, definitely excited to hear from him, see how this offseason's gone. I mean, I think that's the big question. It's very fair to say, last season might not have been the best season for him, but look at the talent in the wide receiver room this year compared to last year, and it's a pretty big difference. So, I would say the expectation, like I said, just for the team in general, to see improvement. I think personally, I think it's in there. It'll be interesting to see how much of a jump he can take with that new receiver core. But like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see, what he says today and what kind of things they have been doing in the offseason to take that next step.
Okay, we were talking earlier, just before we started, about Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson. Really, really highly touted freshman wide receivers. Obviously, the Alabama fans are excited about Ryan Williams. But we'll fast forward 6 months. What will we be saying about Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson in 6 months and their season in their first season in college football?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, just two extremely, extremely talented guys, and two guys that I think, at the very least, have the potential to make an impact right away. Just looking at this wide receiver core, looking at, we talked about the offense a little bit already. I think it's two guys that this team really is going to kind of need to already be ready this year, take a big step. And if they can, that would be huge for this offense. And I think especially, looking at Cam Coleman, that's a guy who I expect to pop this year. I think 6 months from now, we will be talking about him as, one of the best performing freshmen in the SEC, if not the whole country.
All right, so a lot of the focus for the Alabama perspective will be on the Iron Bowl and obviously the Auburn perspective as well. Alabama goes to Oklahoma the week before, and I think it sets up a very dangerous final 2 weeks for the Crimson Tide. Will that Iron Bowl be something that Alabama fans need to be worried about with playing in Bryant-Denny Stadium? Usually, Alabama plays Auburn in Bryant-Denny Stadium. The last handful of years, it's been not so challenging. Down there in the Plains, major challenge. Will it be a little bit reversed this year? Auburn have a little bit more, better chance to pull the upset because of the end of the year schedule for both schools.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there at the end. I mean, if you look at the contrast between the end of the year and what Auburn kind of has going into that game, Auburn, if you look at their schedule, the middle of it is kind of where, you see a lot of the tough games. And then Auburn kind of has a few weeks. I know they've got Texas A&M at home the week before, which is going to be tough, but they've got a few weeks to, get prepared for that game. And, it's like I said, whether it's at Bryant-Denny or at Jordan-Hare, obviously, Alabama has been dominant at Bryant-Denny recently, but it's still a game that everybody's going to get up for every year, right? So I think it's one that, Alabama's always got to be careful about, but it's one of those two. It's always so hard to say in July what a team's going to look like at the end of November. So, it'll be interesting, but we'll see.
Okay, so I've asked the Texas and Oklahoma reporters that I've had on to talk about the Red River rivalry as it's coming into the SEC. Is the Iron Bowl still the number one rivalry in the SEC, or does Red River, or would you go a different direction for the top rivalry in the SEC?
For me, I still have to say the Iron Bowl. As somebody who grew up right in the middle of it in Birmingham, for me, it's nothing really beats that. But, the Oklahoma-Texas, I think you can make the argument when it comes to significance over the two teams and them competing for championships, at least in their old conference. You can argue that maybe that's had more significance recently, but when it comes to the real rivalry, the bitterness of it, the two fan bases, to me, I mean, nothing in the country matches the Iron Bowl.
All right, we're hanging out with Peter Radicus, the newest beat writer for AL.com, covering the Auburn Tigers, and it is Auburn Tigers Day. Follow him on the Twitter machine at Peter_Radicus. Last question for you. We'll circle it all the way back to Hugh Freeze. What will be his influence on the Auburn offense this year? It seems like last year we heard a lot of, I'm doing recruiting, I'm doing roster management, team building, leaving that up to the coaches. Will he have a more hands-on approach with the Auburn offense this season?
I mean, it certainly sounds like it from everything we've heard during the offseason. I think that's something that will benefit this offense, him being more involved. We saw at times last year where, we just talked about the kind of a disconnect, kind of a lack of alignment at times. So it's going to be interesting to see just what exactly that looks like this season with him in the offseason. But I think he'll be more involved. And like I said, I think that'll be good for this offense as well.
We'll be following Peter's coverage of the Auburn Tigers on AL.com all season long. Peter, thanks so much. It was great to meet you this week, and hope to have you on again closer to that Iron Bowl.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Good luck today. You got a busy day ahead of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
As Peter Radrick is joining us, and that will do it for our time at SEC Media Days. We've played all of the interviews that we had out there in Dallas. We want to thank everybody who joined us. We had Peter Radrick, who you just heard, Nick Kelly, who started the show off, Matt Moscona, and Emily Grace McWhorter, who we played, I believe, on Friday's show. Yeah, I believe we played that on Friday's show. We talked to Coach Kalen DeBoer for 4 or 5 minutes, Tyler Booker, Malachi Moore, Kirk Bowles, and a lot more out there in Dallas. So you can check through our archives for the last really 2 weeks to check out any and all of those conversations. We're going to get out of here for the day. As we do it, we want to tell you one more time about Derek Daniel and State Farm. You know you need home, life, and auto insurance, and you can find him up in Northport, Highway 69 North. Let's see, it's 4604 Highway 69 North, Northport, Alabama, 35473. You can call him for all of your home, life, and auto insurance needs. He's got great agents who's going to take care of you. Red, Reese, and Victoria. They'll call you. They'll give you an auto insurance quote really, really quickly, and they will get you taken care of for all of your insurance needs. You're going to have insurance, especially here in Tuscaloosa with all the crazy drivers and with all the, wild weather. We had some crazy weather over the weekend. You want to make sure that you're taken care of as we continue into the fall right here in Tuscaloosa. We appreciate Derek Daniel for sponsoring the program. You can call him today at 205-758-3391. As we get out of here for the day, we want to thank you once again for following the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at Joe Gaither 6, or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Amazon. You can find the show, The Joe Gaither Show, on BamaCentral. You can find it in whatever your favorite podcast platform is. We will be back tomorrow after we talk to and hang out with the Alabama football players. We're going to hang out with them about 9:20 is our practice availability, and so you will start to see practice videos on the BamaCentral YouTube channel very, very shortly after, maybe about 10 o'clock or so, right there on the BamaCentral YouTube channel.